In February 2019, the township of Tinga faced a catastrophic bushfire. The Rural Fire Service reported that 9 homes were destroyed by the Tinga Plateau blaze. 1 was damaged and a further 18 outbuildings were lost. Over 18,000 hectares of rural lands were burnt out. Peter Sandral owns a cattle farming business called Sandstock just outside the town. He was lucky enough to save his home, but his entire property was destroyed, left charred and devoid of life. Livestock and native fauna were killed. According to Mr. Sandral, rebuilding a cattle farm from the ground up came with some positives. Drought-resilient livestock, more suitable pastures and fencing have made his business better now than before drought and bushfires took their toll.
We're very close to Tinga, only 4 or 5 kilometres out of Tinga. In fact, our property runs right down to the common at Tinga. We farm 2,300 acres here. There is a little bit of lease country with the property, which is another 100 acres. So in total it's about 2,400 acres here. We run basically a beef cow operation. We source our cattle out of Queensland, central Queensland, southern Queensland, with a Boss Indicas mix, bit of Brahman in the cattle. We use Charolais bulls over them, and we sell the calves. We don't grow the calves out, we sell the calves at 250 to 300 kilos. We're running 400 breeders, so we'll go through those breeders every year, and the ones that are not pregnant get sold. So every cow on the place must be either pregnant or have a calf at foot. We do not tolerate any cows that are not reproducing.
In just 12 months, a good business position was degraded by dark times of drought, destocking and fires.
Okay, so we came up from the southern Riverina. We bought this property in early 2018. Things looked pretty rosy at the time. We had 200 cows here on agistment. We then purchased 200 cows. So there was roughly 400 cows running on here, and things got drier and drier towards the end of 2018. So we sent the agistment cows off. Then we made a decision to sell our calves early. So in early February of 2019, we sold the calves prematurely. But it turned out a very good decision, because shortly after that the fires came through, and the fires took all our grass. We weren't going too bad prior to the fires. It was dry, but we had a lot of standing feed. And what the fires did, completely wiped out our standing feed. We went from not too bad a position to absolutely nothing to feed the cattle. Between hay and fencing, within 3 or 4 months, we'd spent $500,000 to try and get the property up and running and to save our livestock. So $500,000 went out. We came here in a pretty good position from a property we'd sold in northeast Victoria, and we got good money and we bought in at the right time. But all those positives, we lost a lot of ground financially. We lost a good position we were in, and we had to go back to the bank and borrow money. So initially, $500,000 went out the window. But obviously since then we've had, we're on the back of our 3rd very good season. But when looking back there, it was tough, and you know, we shot cows, and it was quite tough, yeah. Also, the fencing on this place was old-fashioned. So a lot of timber, all the strainer posts were timber, and the inline posts, so you had 4 steel posts and then also a timber post. So every 4th post was a timber post. And what the effect of that was, once the fires came through, all the timber posts burnt and the timber strainers burnt and the fences fell on the ground, and we had cattle walking up the road. So you can imagine what a nightmare it was. But basically, from that point on, we had to buy hay. We had to do an enormous amount of fencing. Our fencing costs were just absolutely ridiculous. We re-fenced the property, boundary first. And as the year progressed, it continued to be dry, and we ended up carting water to the cows. The cows were pregnant and they calved, so we were buying cotton seed, buying hay, keeping them alive, and until the rains came.
Mr. Sandral explained how his agricultural business survived and recovered.
Trimming your herd back, battening down the hatches, so to speak, working out which cows were the ones that would make it through, or the ones you thought would make it through. So you picked the cows that held their weight, you trimmed your numbers right back, then we bought in hay and cotton seed, and using those sort of mixtures we were able to get through till the rains came. And I still remember the first decent rain we got was Christmas Day of 2019, and we got a 25 mil of rain. And then as we got into the new year of 2020, the rain started coming in January or February, and it was unbelievable. When the rain came and the grass grew, the grass got up to 6 or 8 inches high, the cattle just fattened overnight, and basically they were pretty poor at that stage. But they did not get back in calf, but we were able to sell the cows fat, and we were able to fatten the calves on that grass, and we're able to sell the calves and the cows as fats, and then buy back in pregnant cows. So we bought in a lot of cows, and basically that got us up and running again.
The business is now more resilient in the face of challenging times. Cattle breed and feed options have been optimised for harsher conditions, as has property infrastructure.
Our grasses here are tropical type grasses, and they're summer active grasses. And those grasses, European cattle generally don't take to them that well. And the Bos Indus cattle, your Brahmins and Brahman crosses, these cattle have an enzyme in the stomach which allows them to break down rough feed and feed that is not much use to European cattle. So they can make use of rough feed where the European cattle can't. But also, what I think is a key element too is using a quality lick or blocks. We use a product put out by Nutrien, and it's an excellent product. So it's got all your vitamins and minerals and protein in it, and that also allows the cattle to break down the dry grasses and make use of it.
Disaster-proofing infrastructure has also been a recovery priority.
Our inline posts, we use a larger post every 4th post, which strengthens the fence. It's called a maxi post. So we use that every 4th post, but it's also steel. You know, it may affect the bottom wire or the bottom 2 wires, but basically if you had a big fire through here now, your fences would remain stock-proof. I think that's a big plus.
It's very clear that Peter Sandral has taken the lessons he's learnt in the bushfire and its aftermath very seriously, and his beef cattle business is not only better positioned should disaster strike again, but also more productive in the good times due to the resilience practices he has undertaken.
After the fires, it allowed us in quite a few areas to give us a clean slate. So we had grasses that were burnt to nothing, and the areas around the house, probably 600 or 700 acres of the country around the house, we then sowed to kikuyu. And kikuyu stays green in the summer and doesn't grow that long, and the cattle love it, and that actually gives you a fire break around your buildings and your house as well. So your tropical grasses, they will burn like petrol. It's unbelievable, especially in a drought when they're dry. Like the amount of the height in the flames was unreal.
This is a bushfire community recovery and resilience fund project funded through the joint Commonwealth State Disaster Recovery Funding Arrangements.